I've always wanted to make money. I've always wanted to be rich. I didn't always believe that I could be, but I always wanted it. I always wanted to be a star. I always wanted to be famous. I wanted to entertain people. I wanted to be an actress growing up, and I did theater and acting for a long time. I wanted to sing and dance and act and entertain the world. And I wanted to be extremely ridiculously wealthy for doing it. And that was my childhood dream.
This is Leah Steele, aka The Wealth Witch, and this is my podcast. I'm here to activate you to remembrance of your divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of your life. This podcast is for people ready to have controversial conversations about the financial control, manipulation, and tyranny that faces humanity today.
I'm gonna live in freedom. I'm gonna live my destiny. I'm gonna live my freedom. I'm gonna live, the time is right now.
The Wealth Witch. It's for the people who are ready to wake up, deconstruct their wealth programming, and free themselves from the financial slavery consciousness that serves the global financial agenda. I'm committed to realizing a new global wealth paradigm where economic freedom is the reality and where you get to design and live the life of your dreams. Now let's do the damn thing.
This is part 2 of this story. And you can definitely hop back, watch the other one for all of the part leading up to this, which was all the crazy life falling apart, and how I decided and figured out how to rebuild. So hi to everyone. So, I think I've basically gotten to the spiral part of the journey, right? So I sign up to do Spiral with Dane, and he begins taking me through the spiral. And literally at level 1, everything began to shift for me. And level 1 of the spiral is deserving. And I started just really this is where all my beliefs around me having to be perfect and having to show up perfect and what perfect meant all began to crumble and fall away. And I immediately had an increase in money and revenue in my business, because I embraced this idea that I was deserving, right? And that I was deserving simply for being who I was. And it wasn't there weren't conditions placed upon it. I wasn't deserving because I blah, 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 blah. I was simply just deserving. And so that was huge for me. And, as a result, I think that, level 1 has actually become one of my favorite levels of the spiral. And it's so funny that the call that I had to get off to do in between these 2 sessions was a level 1 session of the spiral, with a new spiral client. So that is just really cool, I think. So for me, level 1's my jam. I love taking people through level 1 of the spiral. I love seeing the shifts, when they release, guilt, shame, and dogma and are able to fully step into their deservedness. I think it's, it's one of the most beautiful things that I get to experience in my life, is seeing my clients shift in that way. So I'm eternally grateful for that. So it's amazing that I got to just go do that with a client that's actually been a part of my community for a long time. So it was really amazing to do that with her, and take her through level 1 of the spiral. So for me, as you can imagine, if you know anything about the spiral, if you've been reading Dane's book, level 1, deserving, and level 6, vision, which is third eye, are probably my 2 strongest levels in the spiral, the ones that I love to do, the ones where my clients get tremendous activations from me. Obviously, my clients get activations from me at every level, but those 2 are the ones for me that are just really powerful. I've always wanted to make money. I've always wanted to be rich. I didn't always believe that I could be, but I always wanted it. I always wanted to be a star. I always wanted to be famous. I wanted to entertain people. I wanted to be an actress growing up, and I did theater and acting for a long time. I wanted to sing and dance and act and entertain the world. And I wanted to be extremely ridiculously wealthy for doing it. And that was my childhood dream. You know, as we grow and as those dreams are conditioned out of us, I don't think I ever really lost that desire for living a life of luxury, for having money, for not having to worry about money. You know, growing up in the house I did where my mom was always worried about money, and always breaking her back to try to make everything happen. Like I remember Christmases were always just so amazing. And I can't even imagine in hindsight, looking back, like what she would have to do to make that happen. And I certainly have had my fair share of Christmases with my kids where I've done the same thing, right? It's funny now because now that we actually have the money to have these big, like extravagant Christmases, like we don't do it anymore. Like we go on a trip or we, you know, just spend time together. It's like those things just don't matter. Like things don't matter as much anymore. I think one of the biggest shifts that I made going through Spiral is, I mean, obviously, like there was massive shifts. So one of the things that happened to me going through Spiral was I was like, tradition and roots and a home and possessions and things were so important to me because I equated my stability, my safety, and my security with my possessions and with having things. And once I cleared that emotional conditioning around that, I was like, I didn't really give a shit anymore. And like halfway through the Spiral, we decided to move to Bali and began selling everything we owned. I mean, we have like one small storage unit full of stuff. We like heirlooms, memorabilia, and a couple of items of furniture, and everything else we sold. We sold everything else and moved across the world. So that's how big of a shift happened to me from the kids have to be in the same school, because I moved all the time as a child and I was always feeling misplaced and I was always having to make new friends. And that was extremely difficult for me. Because believe it or not, I am an introvert. If you spend any time with me personally, everyone that meets me personally is like, wow, you're a lot more quiet than I thought you would be. Wow. Like you just sit back and observe everything. I'm like here when I'm on camera with you guys, I'm the one that has to talk. So I definitely like my entertainer self comes out, but in my personal life, I'm much more of an introvert. So yeah. We sold everything we owned and we moved across the world. I left all of my friends. We moved out of we took our kids out of school, which it was a big thing for me that I had always wanted my kids to be in the same school, right? Like that was so important to me because I thought that would make them feel safe. I thought that would make them feel stable. I thought that would make them feel secure because I didn't have it growing up, and just everything shifted for me. Oh, Mariah, I'm sorry that you didn't feel that you had. When did you finish the Spiral? When did you finish? One of the things I think with the Spiral for me that I've recognized and realized is that the more time goes by, the more I realize the impact my spirals have had on me. Okay, so 2 years is a good amount of time. You should have fully realized a lot of the transformation. I'd be interested to just talk to you. If you want to message me, I'd be interested to know what shifts you do feel like you experienced. Obviously I think the Spiral, like anything else, it has a lot to do with transmission. And I was taken through the Spiral by the creator of the Spiral, right? So I definitely know how blessed I am. And I take people through the Spiral the way that Dane took me through the Spiral. And it's not the way that a lot of practitioners take their clients through the Spiral. I do it really intuitively. I make sure that I feel like my clients are ready to move to the next level. I'm not rushing them through. I just do things a little bit differently. And, but I do it how I was taken through by Dane. And for me, in activating the levels and in giving it's for me, it's about me giving the transmission and me activating the level in you, and then you clearing out what needs to be cleared. But the money just started to come in, right? And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was doing this wealth resonance clearing with Dane in each level of the Spiral. And then when I got to the place after I went through my spiral practitioner training and I learned to be a spiral practitioner, the thing that interested me the most, because my income had just continued to climb and climb and climb, was I wanted to hack emotional clearing for money, wealth, and receiving. Like, I wanted to completely repattern all of my money beliefs, all my limiting beliefs, all my money story. And so I literally have spent hours and hours and hours clearing anything money, wealth, receiving related that I could possibly fathom of or think of. And at the same time, because I had cleared out all of my emotional conditioning around dogma, right? The rules around guilt, around shame, the other 22 emotions of the spiral, I was able to really objectively begin to look at my programming and how I had been programmed from the time I took my first breath on this planet as to what my place was and what my ability to accumulate and to create or accumulate and acquire wealth should be. And I was able to really objectively see the programming that's done to us and that society places on us around that, and then was able to start deconstructing that for myself. And then through all of this, my program Ouroboros was born, because I realized that, you know, spiral is epically powerful, and we still all have a fuck ton of money shit that we need to work through. And we all deserve to be ridiculously financially prosperous. There is enough money. There are enough resources to go around for all of us to be prosperous, for all of us to be ridiculously abundant. And the reason that we are not is because of our emotional conditioning and of our programming. So I started doing daily wealth resonance clearing on myself. And then I started root clearing, like anything I could possibly get a handle on. But then the big thing happened for me. And that was, I started making the ancestral lineage and DNA connection between deserving and worthiness and money and wealth, and realized that, you know, it didn't matter how much of our money shit we cleared up. It's like, I could clear up my money shit and then I could have steady financial increases. But when I started looking at my ancestral lineage and clearing my ancestral lines when it came to money, wealth, receiving, prosperity, deserving, worthiness, all of that, when I started looking at those lines and clearing that shit, epic shit started happening financially for me. And so I knew that I needed to share that. And I knew that I was downloading information on how to make this happen so that I could share that. And, you know, it's interesting because the Ouroboros, the name Ouroboros actually dropped into me a year ago. And I knew that I was going to have a program called Ouroboros. I didn't know what it was going to be. And then, you know, the quantum wealth repatterning program was obviously born. But the program was born like in the end of November of last year. And it's now just launching, and we officially had first welcome content yesterday, and registration's open until next Thursday. But I knew that like it needed to be, things just rapidly began to shift from me. I went quickly from averaging about 18,000 a month up to 35,000 a month when I started looking at my ancestral lineage and clearing in that capacity. And so that's a big part of what I'm going to be doing in the Ouroboros program, is working with my clients on that ancestral lineage clearing. And there's so many different components. I mean, now I'm starting to look at how my human design and my open centers and my hanging gates and my conditioning that has happened because of those open centers and those hanging gates, like how that plays in and ties into my money story. I'm fascinated by this stuff. I'm fascinated by it, and I am so motivated to change the wealth consciousness of the spiritual community. I do not want spiritual people to continue on with this belief that purpose equals poverty, because I know for a fact that purpose can equal prosperity. And we all have the ability to achieve that. And so that's really why this class happened. It's why my Mastering Your Spiritual Money Game course is happening. It's why Ouroboros is happening. Because it is my job, and I am here to shift those beliefs, to create with the clients that are coming along with me on these journeys, a new wealth paradigm for spiritually conscious entrepreneurs. And I just so deeply desire to help all of you change your fucking money stories, and to do it at all levels, not just at the surface level, and not just at the emotional conditioning from this lifetime. It's like, that's why I'm like, what has really fucking shifted shit for me is that I've been working in the quantum. I've been working in the parallel realms. I've been working in past life realms. I've been working on my future timeline. I've been working in my ancestral lines. And so it's not a one-sided and one-dimension approach to clearing. Like, I'm looking at it in all aspects and in all avenues. And that's what's really making the big shifts. And I've been really opening my eyes to the societal programming, and deconstructing that programming, and deconstructing the limiting beliefs that come along with being brainwashed and programmed our entire lives to stay within our class. I love these earrings. My mom gave me these earrings, feathers with moonstones. So I make money, but not enough consistency or what I want. Well, so that's one of the biggest things that I notice in the spiritual community. It's like, we'll have wins, right? And then we'll dip down. And sometimes it's that, like, we have really big successes, and then fear of repeating it, or fear, like, our worthiness stuff actually kicks up, which is part of the problem here, right? Like, it's the fear. Like, the fear is what gets kicked up here, and the deserving and the worthiness and being good enough and all of that shit. And then we self-sabotage. But also the programming kicks in that says you cannot rise above your station. It will disrupt. The programming is such that you believe at a cellular level, it will disrupt the patterning of the fucking planet if you rise above your station. And that's why it's so difficult for people to rise out of their classes, because we've been fucking programmed to stay in them. And so you have to deconstruct those beliefs. You have to break apart that programming. You have to decide that you will no longer be contained by what society states is your class or is your place. And a lot of people hear me say that and go like, that doesn't happen. That's not real. And I'm like, well, look around and explain to me why everything's happening the way it's happening then. And why it's only the people that do ridiculous and tremendous amount of mindset work, or somehow are able to shift their paradigm into believing that they have the ability. It's inner game. It's mindset. And it is deconstructing beliefs. That's what helps us excel. That's what helps us rise above and break through that patterning and break through those ceilings. And those of us that have been doing this inner work and continue to show up and continue to do this inner work and look at our conditioning and our programming and all of that shit, and then decide that we're no longer buying into it, and decide that we're going after something and that we're going to have that no matter what, those are the 1% of the 1% that you see making it, that you see really able to achieve and amass huge amounts of wealth. I've been able to process that, but now how to embody that manifestation. So this is the most important part, right? Like, yes, the clearing is important, but it's also the tasking. It's the activation of the clearing, it's the tasking, and it's the integration. And for me, what I also know to be true is that there are power in collective containers. And so that's why I'm doing my Ouroboros program and Mastering Your Spiritual Money Game, right? As group programs, because there's power in the collective when it comes to embodying new programming, when it comes to embodying the release of programming. There's what we can do in numbers so much better. We can create in numbers so much better than we can do alone and with ourselves. And that is definitely true for manifestation. And that is definitely true for wealth creation. So Mastering Your Spiritual Money Game is my mid-level program. It's $555. Welcome content started yesterday. We're literally going into and talking about all this shit. How to identify your programming, how to deconstruct it. We're doing weekly group clearing calls. It's going to be fucking epic. And then Ouroboros is my 12-week intensive. The down and dirty, like we're literally creating a clean slate for everyone in that program. And yeah, it is wealth repatterning. We are repatterning everybody in that program. And we're doing it in the collective, and we are setting the collective intention. The intention call yesterday in that group was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And I think a lot of people have been like afraid to reach out about that program because they're thinking it's going to be like ridiculously expensive. It's $2,222 and there's a payment plan available. So if you're feeling called to that program, it is an application only. I need to make sure that everybody that comes in there is ready and willing to do the work because of this, because the people in this group have to be ready and willing and able to hold the fucking container because it's going to be epic. And obviously I'm holding the container, but everybody in there plays a part in the creation of what we're doing, inside Ouroboros. So if that's calling to you, definitely reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about it and see if it's a good fit. Anyone can join Mastering Your Spiritual Money Game. It's a 5-week program now. It was going to be a 4-week program. It's a 5-week program. $555. Weekly group clearing. And all kinds of epic shifting is going to be happening in there as well. Ouroboros is one-on-one and group work. And so you'll have one-on-one clearing sessions and activations with me, as well as group clearing sessions and activations, as well as content, as well as audio trainings, as well as, Galactic Wealth Code activations, light language activations. I mean, that's the granddaddy heavy duty program there. So if you want more information, reach out to me. I feel like I believe, but obviously some piece has to be missing. I can't find it. I'm so fed up in not being able to identify the piece. I know. And that's where so many people are. And this is the thing. It's like, the one thing that I would say is to know everything can shift in an instant. Everything can shift in an instant. It's about finding those pieces. And for me, it is like this inner puzzle, or like this inner Tetris game. And it's like, once we identify what the thing is that's fucking up the entire synergy, it's like, once that piece is adjusted, then like everything falls into place. And the great thing with this money clearing and this wealth repatterning is it's like, we're not identifying just one thing. We're going in and being like, oh, there's a little thing right there. 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 And these little shifts that we're making are actually shifts of fucking epic proportion that are able to create huge impact, in our lives and in our ability to create wealth. And ultimately it all comes down to belief, and belief that there's something better, belief that there's something more, belief that you're worthy, belief that you're deserving, and for me, it was like, once I went through all of this and once I took this journey, it was saying to myself, no, I am meant to live the life that I deeply desire. I am meant to have everything that I want. I am meant to live a life of luxury. I am meant to be ridiculously wealthy. And nobody is going to stop me from that. Nobody is going to keep me from my destiny. And understanding and feeling the vibration of money now, and knowing that it is just this incredible resource for me to use at my disposal, and not having fear and not having judgment and not having worry and not having all of that emotional conditioned shit around it anymore, has been really freeing. And so, just waking up every day, realizing that it shifts on an inner level that create an outward representation of income, money, and wealth. That everything that happens on the outer landscape is a direct reflection of what's happening on my inner landscape. And so if I want to shift something, I don't have to go out and do, I have to go in and tweak. And for me, like the entire cosmos, the entire, every dimension exists inside of us. So even when I'm working in the quantum and even when I'm working in the parallel and in other dimensions, those, like the multiverse exists inside me, right? And so it's still inner work. It's still tweaks inside that create the most radical, massive shifts outside. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Thank you for investing in yourself and investing in this program. And, reach out to me if there's any way that I can help and assist. Okay, I think that's it. Have a great day.
That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to connect with me on social media and reach out. I love hearing from you. And if you want more of me, real, raw, and uncensored, make sure to join the Wealth Witch Telegram channel. It's my free channel where I share all of my random daily musings, as well as the information that I feel like is important and pertinent to my community. We've put a link to the Telegram channel in the show notes, so make sure to come join us over there if that intrigues you. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you are the most powerful creator in your reality. Until next time, this is the Wealth Witch signing off.